Ladies and gentlemen, for many years, over 10 or 12 years, we've been watching Monday Night Raw, and it's been 3 hours. But finally, according to the news, because it's moving to USA Network or Netflix or all that, it's just, moving around. We're finally going down from 3 hours back to 2 hours after so many freaking years. So in reality, the exact date is July 23rd of 2012. So that's 12 years, yeah. Wow, it was the 1000th episode. I mean, it feels like yesterday and a millennia ago at the same time. That's crazy. Before we read the actual news piece, here's Wrestle Features. This is even crazier, If it was announced 4 or 5 years ago that Raw was moving back to 2 hours, I would have applauded. The fact that there are unhappy fans with the format change is a sign that Triple H has mastered how to deliver a solid and consistent 3-hour TV product. Now, I didn't know Just Brian also ran, different wrestling accounts on X, man. Shout out. I feel like this is basically WWE glazing, because if I had to be real, when you look at the WWE landscape or wrestling landscape in general, sure, Raw 3 hours, it's not the worst show out there, but the 3 hours drags on, because what you see is basically, ladies and gentlemen, is somebody comes out there and they take it really slow because they got 3 hours. They finally get to the ring and finish their entrance, and they take the microphone. They kind of just look around because 3 hours, so any noise that the crowd makes, they gotta stop for 20 million years and give a reaction, just overdo it after every word, after every single syllable. Again, that's just one of many small things that you notice. Because Raw is 3 hours, they do much more of those, of course, to go ahead and fill it, and it's unnecessary. Back then, one of my, favorite runs in wrestling when it comes to show after show was the NXT from 2014 to 16, 17, where the weekly shows were 1 hour. I would admit 1 hour is a bit too short, but they kept it short and really sweet. Like all the matches, everything was something worth watching. I remember them doing a 1 hour match as well. I don't remember who it was between, but the real star of that was the takeovers. The takeovers were just 2 hours, and from top to bottom, every single match gave you something amazing. And by the time it ended, you were like, well, hold on, what's going on? Because it ended right at the point where you would start to get bored. It was absolutely perfect. And I see that now, the DNA of that in Raw, and I see it in WWE pay-per-views, because we barely get matches that are more than 5 when it comes to the pay-per-views, which I think is an extremely welcome change. That should be the template that Triple H should stick with forever. Maybe, if it's WrestleMania or it's a different big show, we can talk about it, we can think about it. But yeah, I am absolutely loving the last matches. It's better. Now Raw, like I said, I think it is a quality show. The problem is that quality is questionable. I wouldn't say it's too high. It being 2 hours, it's just gonna have to, it's a matter of fact, it's gonna be more quality. 1 hour, too short, 2 hour, sweet spot for wrestling. Absolutely perfect. Because now they won't have to stretch the time so much. Now only the coolest storylines from Raw are gonna get more spotlight, because they're not gonna put a storyline that's not performing too well, as they don't have the time. So it's just gonna go ahead and give us more quality. It's gonna make it condensed. It's gonna make things matter a bit more, and I think overall it's just gonna make Raw a better show to watch, especially way better than SmackDown, because yeah, SmackDown is 2 hours, but there's barely anything interesting going on over there. I mean, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. Forgive me for not finding that interesting. I think besides LA Knight and when Logan Paul that is returns, that's gonna be interesting. But maybe Carmella Hayes and Andrade, that's cool. That's it. But on Raw you got the Judgment Day. I mean, even Bronson Reed, who I'm not a huge fan of, is doing interesting stuff. The Fatal 4-Way for the the Intercontinental Championship. The whole elimination process for that was interesting. Braun Breaker is not only a badass, but he's interesting in and outside of the ring. So, I mean, Gunther, I love Gunther. He's probably my favorite wrestler right now. He did stuff with Bret Hart this week, right? Or whatever Gunther does, it's usually really good. It was Randy Orton, right? Before Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn I think he's the modern John Cena with the way he's booked right now. He just beats up everybody after taking a beating for like 10 minutes. And yeah, he just comes back like Cena and whatever. It's still interesting because Sami Zayn did in fact beat Gunther. He's the only one to do so. And he did it for the Intercontinental Championship. Will he be able to do it for the World Heavyweight Championship? Probably not. But it's an interesting feud because Sami Zayn is good on the mic. He's a great wrestler overall. I think his booking is a problem for me right now because Sami, just like Gunther, used to be my favorite, like #1. I mean, NXT R Revolution, one of the first ever takeovers. Holy cow, like, and then Kevin Owens debuting, taking out Sami Zayn. I like him. But anyways, as you can see, there's a lot more interesting stuff on Raw. And with this condensed time, now the cream is going to rise to the top. We're going to talk about what's going to happen at Netflix, though. And before we do, let me actually show you the tweet from WrestleVotes, and here it is right here. Regarding the news of Raw switching to 2 hours for the rest of the year, I've heard that many production and social staff who work behind the scenes found out in real time, just like the rest of us. I would imagine they were happier as well. I don't know. Hopefully, nobody gets fired because this thing is going to become, shorter, so there's less people needed. But other than that, it's just a net positive in my humble opinion. As for what this means for 2025 and Netflix, one source said WWE is eagerly anticipating the freedom to vary run times as needed. No firm decision has been made either way. I feel like this is not a prediction but a spoiler with Triple H being at the helm. And you remember how I just talked about NXT takeovers and NXT in general back in 2015 to 17. Well, Triple H was running those, right? 100%. So you can guess what that means. I feel like it's his philosophy to have shorter and more condensed, but because of that, higher quality shows. Instead of saying, oh, if I can have 5 hours, I'm going to get 5 hours. Content is content, damn it. Because this is the same guy who got rid of TLC, Hell in a Cell as a pay-per-view. He's bringing it back as a big, badass match type. He's giving more importance to titles in general, but especially to mid-card titles. He's like a very wrestler type of guy. I mean, I feel like all of us indie fans, or not indie fans, but I guess hardcore wrestling fans would tend to think like Triple H as well. And so with the way Triple H thinks, sure, we might see a 3-hour show. If things get ridiculous, we might see a 4-hour show, who knows? But 99% of the time, I feel like we're going to get those 2-hour shows. And WWE certainly has the freedom to do a 1-hour show or, like I said, a 4-hour show, because I don't think, at least in the very beginning, they just have airtime, right? They're not going to be competing with anything else on Netflix. From what I know, we'll see that in more detail as the Netflix deal develops. But my prediction is, because of the way Triple H thinks, we're gonna get Raw 2 hours and that's gonna be it for the most part. And as far as like gore, swearing, and everything that can go crazy because we're going to Netflix now. I mean, I think this wasn't Triple H who said it. This was Roman Reigns in an interview who talked about this. But they're gonna still do the same thing for the most part with some pivots here and there. So in my opinion, don't expect when Netflix comes into play for the WWE to go back to the Attitude Era and, we're gonna have crazy, insane things happening, people swearing, bleeding, and, all the crazy Diva era coming back. I don't think any of that is gonna happen. Even if that happens, it's gonna happen in like 10 years and it's gonna develop slowly, as everything has been with the Triple H era. If you pay attention, there has been some quite significant changes. Maybe we don't notice them too much because it happens in, 3 years, right? 2 years instead of just 1 week. So yeah, it's interesting though. I'm just super stoked about this. This is definitely gonna make a better content for us, the viewers. But again, there are actually some people who don't like Raw going from 3 hours to 2 hours. If you're one of them, let me know. If you're not, actually, let me know what you think in general about this situation. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to this channel for more wrestling content, and I'll see you on the next one.